Okay.
So I'll just write this down.
What makes Andela epic? The people.
You're given the opportunity to grow into whatever your potential really is.
It invites innovation, talent, and diversity.
Andela was born of a simple premise. Brilliance is evenly distributed, but opportunity isn't. Our mission is to connect talented individuals to roles that can be done anywhere you want to be.
Andela supports work-life balance by providing opportunity to work absolutely remote, and it gives us an opportunity to have a family life, have a personal life, and still be extraordinary in impacting the lives of our talent and our clients.
I really got hooked on Andela when I heard about the mission, connecting brilliance to opportunity, regardless of race, gender, or geography. That got me hooked.
I have joined Andela as I come from Brazil, and I have been impacted directly by being connected to opportunity that wouldn't exist otherwise in my local country.
What do I love most about my team and department? The people.
Everyone just works together so well. They really respect one another's opinions, and it truly feels kind of like a family. It feels like home.
We act as one group, one team, and we all help each other succeed.
Why should I join Andela? It's a great question. I would turn it around and say, why wouldn't you join Andela? We have brilliant people that you get to work with every day. We have a mission that is at the core of every single person who works here. And every day you learn something new and you have a new challenge. And at the end of the day, you're making the world a better place. One moment, one meeting, one laugh at a time.
So what made me join Andela? A legal statement in my job description. The legal statement was all about why we want you here. And it was all about all the traits and characteristics that make up humans. And when I read that equal opportunity legal statement, I actually got a tear in my eye. And it ended with, Andela is home for all. Come as you are. And I knew that I was home at Andela.
How would you describe Andela in one word? Diverse.
Collaboration. We solve solutions together.
Flexibility. I would say inventive.
Brilliance.
Opportunity.
Epic.
The future of work.
Innovative. Impactful.
Hope. Hope that when I look back on my life, I can see that I have done something meaningful with it.
You're not discriminated on your age or race or color or tribe, or whether you're male or female. You just come there and you're a superstar doing your thing and making an impact globally. That's Andela.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for joining. I'm so happy to see so many people here. I hope you have enjoyed the video. My name is Rosario. I'm Talent Marketing Coordinator at Andela. And well, as you could see in the video, at Andela, we're committed to gender equality and empowering women to take center stage. We, many of the people in the video mention how Andela is a place where we feel empowered, where we promote diversity. So in a male-dominated industry like this one, like technology, we understand how difficult it can be for women to gain the recognition and success they deserve. So we have created the Women Live Women webinar series to offer female technologists the chance to learn from the best. So again, thank you very much for joining. We are super happy to have you all here. And without further details, I would like to introduce our speaker for today, for this amazing initiative. So Ann is passionate about building an environment where the tech community can get guidance from experts and connect to jobs without being constrained by gender, race, location, or other arbitrary factors. So as a senior program manager, she explores strategic partnerships that enable the continued growth of skill sharing on demand tech skills across Africa and Latin America. So thank you very much, Anne, for being here, and passing over the mic to you.
Hi everyone, and thank you so much, Rosario, for that introduction. Also excited to see a lot of people joining this session, and I hope we are gonna learn with each other and from each other as we go through this, as well as support the women in tech. And I'm also happy to see men who support women here. Hopefully you can also learn a thing or two along your journey in tech. Okay, so today we are here to talk about your resume, how to present yourself to a recruiter and get that job so that you're not getting screened off at the application stage and not getting to the interview level. But this was done as a team. And I'm just going to switch over and let you meet the team. Again, as you go through this, you can also tell us where you're joining from. In the chat, I can see some people already saying they're joining from Nigeria and so on. So continue doing that. You can also open your resume so that as we are going through these, you're able to compare the points we're giving you to what you already have, and you know what to update on your resume. Now, I mentioned working with a team before, and that will be the first item on the agenda. And then we'll talk about personal branding and what it means, then walk through the anatomy of your resume, and then have a live resume review at the end, right before we have the Q&A. So a number of you submitted their resumes, but we will choose 2 to review for today. I hope you're one of the people selected. Now, I come to you with more powerful women from Andela. The first one is Emma, our profile editor specialist. Now, Emma is an accomplished literary translator and editor and has experience in CEO content writing, web development, and she's reviewing one of the submitted CVs today and discussing what is the significance of the structure of a well-structured resume and how that can get you to beyond the screener's eyes into an interview room. We also have Masida, who is an experienced professor of English, interpreter, translator, and has a strong background in English professional. She has a master's that is focused on European Regional Master's Program in Democracy and Human Rights from Southeast Europe. She also has a strong background in translating legal text, teaching business English, professional creative technical writing and communication, in developing public policy, effective practices for work with victims, developing prevention mechanisms and programs. So as you can see, we came with, what do you call it, the cavalry. And hopefully you'll learn a lot from us, and we can also get to learn from you. As I continue, if you have any questions, you can add it in the Q&A section. We'll also be covering some questions that were submitted as part of the registration process. So on to it. What is a personal brand? So when you're talking of personal brand, we are talking of how you represent yourself in a community or in an industry in terms of how do you want to be perceived in that particular community. What does it communicate? It communicates what your values are, what your skills are, and what you have to offer in that group or in that industry. In this case, because we are in tech, assuming we are all talking about the tech community and how you showcase your skills in tech. Now, what is in a personal brand? First of all, it would help you communicate who you are, what you stand for, such that whenever I see, say for example, if I see Emma, I know exactly what Emma stands for, what she offers, and what I can go to her for collaboration. As you're building your personal brand, you get to learn that you have skills that you didn't have. Therefore, building your confidence in talking about your abilities. It also creates visibility for you. And this is not just in terms of people seeing what you're doing, but for example, on LinkedIn, someone will reach out just based on what your profile says, or as you're getting known in the community, people will know you're the go-to person for ABC. And then when we come to talking about a good personal brand, it's not just about your skills. It also talks about your human side. So what are your natural traits? What do you like doing in your free time? What's your education and training and work? So it creates or presents the whole summary, the complete you as a package and puts you in a certain way. Again, if you get any question along the way, type it in the Q&A section. Then we'll quickly move over to the anatomy of a resume. And this is just a summary of the various sections. So we have a header, which basically tells us who you are in summary and how to reach you. Skills and tools section would tell us which skills are you conversant with, for how long have you worked with those tools or your level of experience. Then a work history section, which tells us where you have worked before, what skills you have gained when you are there, and the goals you are able to attain. Technical projects in tech now covers any projects that you have worked on, notable projects that would showcase your skills. And then education and learning now captures your educational background. Say, for example, you had a diploma, a master's, or any other courses and certifications you take along the way, as well as informal learning programs that we have today. Now, at this point, I'd like to pause and talk about why these sections are important and why your resume is important. At this point, I'm talking from the point of view of a recruiter. So you might not know this, but generally, if I have a role, especially a hard-to-fill role, there'll be lots of people applying. I am likely to review up to 10 CVs before I choose someone, and that's actually a low number. And if you imagine me reviewing 10 CVs in an hour, I want to look at a CV that I will see very clearly. These are the tools and languages this person is conversant with versus this is what I need. So in that case, I'll be working with a job. From the job site, I will get, these are the skills needed. These are the must-have skills. These are the nice-to-have skills. And any other thing that would add to your, either make you as a candidate or break you. For example, if a job says it needs a master's degree, then on your CV you don't have a master's degree, that would be a make or break kind of scenario. Then on the other side, I have the talents that I'm looking at. Now on the talent side, I will compare the job requirements, the tools listed on the JD to what you've listed on your CV. So starting from the bio can tell me, are you the right fit for this company depending on your interest? The skills, are the skills you're stating to be conversant with the one required for this job? Your work history, does your work history tell me that this is where you have practiced these skills and this is what you have achieved? And that is the same for technical projects. And leadership roles you have held in the past, there's an asterisk there because not every job requires leadership, a leadership experience, but those are qualities that would normally look out for, as well as education background. Now, we will now go through each of the sections mentioned above with a sample on the side and then tips for each. So the first one is the header section. As we had said earlier, this is the top section of your resume. At this point, I am hoping you have your resume open and you're comparing what we have here to what you have and thinking about what you'd change maybe after this session. Now, this section just has your personal details in terms of how to contact you, what is your name, your email, where are you based, and a professional summary. The professional summary tells us, this is what I stand for, this is the first impression that you give me, and these are my skills, this is what I have to offer. And that section alone tells me whether I am going to be going down to your CV and checking out the rest. On the right here, you have a sample in the box, a sample header for someone called Jane Doe, just for the sake of this. And you can see for her, she's listed her role, her email address, phone number, where she's based, including the time zone. This is important for the current world where you're applying for a job, say in Europe. You want them to know the time difference. And then a link to the LinkedIn profile. And then a summary, a professional summary indicating what her experience is, stating the number of years of experience she has, and the tools that she has worked with. Now, in addition to that, some of the other things you can add, we have mentioned the title. It's not a must, but it's a good to have, so that I know whether it relates to the current role you're applying for, as well as the links that are relevant to the job. GitHub link, a LinkedIn link, a portfolio URL if you have one. But then it should not have the following: your religion, your age, your marital status, and your gender. Reason being, for example, if you're talking about gender, most organizations will tell you we don't discriminate against gender. So when you add it there, or for example, indicate there, my name is Anne, I am a female, that bit is not important to them in terms of you getting the job. Also, and I think Masida will talk about this later, you want to control the amount of info you're giving out there if it's not needed for whatever you're applying for. By the way, Masida, Emma, stop me at any point if you want to add anything, a point to the slide. Then the second section is the skill sections, and this has all the languages that you're conversant with, the tools and the specialization that you've worked with. Please note this is bundled together. For example, in the sample at the bottom, you can see it has Android, Python, these which are languages. Then it has tools like AWS. At this point, there's even data science there, and it's also showing the number of years of experience in that. Now, why is this important? This is the section that will tell a recruiter first. For example, if I'm looking for a job that requires 3 years in Android and I see you have 2 years in Android, are you a good fit or not? Or I see, fine, you have 2 years in Android, but then you also have another additional skill, which is data science, and it's also important for this, then you can weigh that and consider you for the next skill or for the next level. Now, I've seen people here who put in every language in the world, every tool in the world. You want to be careful what you put here. If you're putting in, for example, you have Android, you have C#, you have Node, I'll sit back and wonder, are you good at any one of these? Or are you just listing everything out there so that you can at least get selected for one thing? So choose a path, and what you're good at should be what you determine what you're putting here, and then list what is relevant. That is one thing. Or when you're making a specialized resume, for example, you know you're applying for a specific job A and it needs these and you have those skills, then you can edit this section accordingly. Then your work history. This is another important section. Of course, the work history section tells us the years of experience you have had, when you had these jobs. For example, in this case, you have the work history where this person was working at Tapestry in United States as a senior software engineer. Please note it mentions the company, where the company is located. Again, this is important in a world where we are working remotely. You want to show, for example, you've worked in different locations if you have, and then the role, and then the time when you worked there. Normally here you can have the year, month, year from to indicate from, and then to. In this case, this person worked for 5 months. Now the 5-month period makes it easier for whoever is hiring you to see how much experience you have from that particular job. Now, the most important thing for the work history is to indicate what you worked on and how you achieved what you achieved. Again, mention what you achieved in terms of metrics. For example, reduce the turnaround time by, say, 1 week, depending on what you are building. So make sure those metrics are measurable. And if you can connect them to actual user problem or business goals, that would be helpful. Because remember, not everyone who looks at your CV will just be a techie only. It might also be someone in HR who knows where the business is heading, and if they see that you can turn your goals into metrics, that will be a plus for you. Then in accomplishments, when you're listing that, make sure you're listing in terms of using the words that would actually describe what you're doing and also that relates to the job, and also mention the tools that you used. Now, mentioning the tools that you used here supplements the skills section in that, if I am to go back, if I go to your skills sections here and I see you have Android, but then come to your work section and I don't see Android listed anywhere, I'll ask myself, when did you practice Android? So it's important to list it under the work history. Then the technical project section. Now, technical projects, like mentioned prior to this, was for notable projects. And by notable, I mean projects where you achieved something big, be it in terms of business or the skills you gained, the skills you got to that you can showcase based on the project. So for each project, add a description of the problem you are trying to solve for, give a background.
Okay, everybody, I'm sorry we are experiencing some technical issues, but we will have Anne back very, very soon. Apologies. This was unexpected.
Okay.
She's back.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I had dropped a row. At which point did I drop off so that I can go back a slide or two? Mic check, row. Can you hear me? Okay, Oscar, I'm not sure whether you all can hear me, but okay, I see people on chat saying I was a technical project, so you didn't miss anything. All right. So for technical projects, I'll just go back in and say this is where you list any notable projects you've worked on. And by notable, I mean either the impact the project had on the business, or the skills you gained or were able to showcase on this project are relevant to what you're applying for. So for the project section, you need to have a summary of the project that serves a context for someone who understands your market and someone who doesn't understand your market. For example, just assume I'd given an M-Pesa example, but for example, if the project here is for pharmacies. If I've never dealt with pharmacies or in the healthcare industry, I might not know what is needed there. So add context for anyone to understand that. Add the problem you are solving for, how you solved it, and then impact you had. Also indicate the tools you used. This is also important to show where you're practicing the skills that you've learned over time, and then add the date when this project was accomplished. That will tell us the last time that you used the said tools. Okay, then education and certifications. Again, you can see a sample at the bottom there. In this section, you list any formal education that you have received over the years, be it a diploma, bachelor's, master's, or PhD degrees. Then additional certifications. For example, if you're an Azure certified engineer, you can add that. If you have any publications that you have published or awards that you've won, also indicate that there. Then also informal learning or courses, for example, MOOCs that you've completed and gained a certificate, you can add those here. This section generally shows us first the education you already have and whether you're interested in learning, whether you keep bettering or improving your skills by seeking more learning opportunities. Now we move to the do's and don'ts of a CV. And we will start off with the do's. And these are just to highlight the aspects or the terms that make you more attractive to a recruiter. So on the first point, we say show rather than tell. And this basically speaks around your skills. At the top, you'll just be listing skills that you have, but then if you don't show us whether you use them, I'll just assume, for example, you're listing, or I'll have to call you and go an extra mile just to confirm that you actually use these skills. Again, showcase that in the work experience and in your projects. Remember, for your projects, you can include a link if it's a live project. And ideally, the project section should have products that are in use and anyone can access them. Then highlight your own contributions. This one goes into the work experience. For example, you're working on a project where you're working in a team. We need to know what part of that team did you play, right? What role did you play in achieving that goal that the business had, or that solving that problem that the project was supposed to address? Then for the courses, I believe I've already listed these. List the courses you've taken in formal learning, and as well as certifications. Then, yeah, certifications come at the end there. And by the way, by informal learning, I mean things like MOOCs, boot camps, learning programs that don't necessarily come from accredited institutions and such. The don'ts, again, this is what I was mentioning about context. Don't assume everyone will understand your project just because in tech industry, even leave alone the location, also the industry can change what you're working on a lot. For example, if you're a software developer in an architectural firm, I might not have any idea about the needs in that kind of a field versus a techie working in a software development firm that is also techie. That might be different. So provide context for any projects that you list or even for work experience so that it's understandable by anyone who is not in that field. And in terms of voice, and I believe we'll talk about this a bit later, use the third person tense for your resume and an active voice. Now, this means that, for example, when you're talking about what you have achieved in the work section, let me just go back to that so that I can give you an example that you can see. In this case, you can see the person says led the implementation of several applications built and deployed BigQuery. In a scenario where this is and these are past work experience, you can see there is an ending of August 2021. A scenario where the person is currently working there, they will say what they currently do in terms of building integration or leading the implementation of application or reducing such that it's currently continuous. And then active voice, it shows who is the one achieving the said action or carrying it out. Back to don'ts, then proofread. Again, I will tell you, you always need to proofread because you will, and not just for CVs, even for presentation, you will always have mistakes. And I can tell you, even for me, this presentation has gone through proofreading by a number of people. So get your friends to proofread it. If you have someone in HR or recruitment, they can also give you feedback on your CV before you apply for a job. Then always update your resume or even your LinkedIn profile, because every few months you gain new skills that are not necessarily captured on your CV, and it's important to keep updating them as you gain them. Because if you wait a year to come back and update, you might actually have forgotten some of the skills you gained along the way. The other thing is, for jobs, before applying to a job, please do check what the job requires. And then if you have the skills required for that job, update your CV such that it's a targeted CV, targeted at that job. Update your CV first to include the skills that are relevant and you have. Don't add skills that you don't have. And also to use the same language that the JD is using, because in tech, you'll find different companies use different language even to mean the same thing. So also check for that. Now, try to do it all by yourself the first time. Then reach out to friends to get a second opinion. This is where we were talking about getting other people to review your CV and also give you feedback on what you should be writing on your CV. Involve them early, because you might spend hours on these writing your CV, then reach out to them, they'll give you a lot of feedback, and you have to spend more hours updating it. Then do not copy paste your entries. You'll find that if you're doing copy pasting, you are likely to copy wrong dates, especially for work experience. For projects, you might end up putting in the same information in different sections, which for us will communicate that you are not keen when you are developing your CV. Then don't do it once and never touch it again. Again, this is about updating your CV, like we talked about earlier. Again, get your CV out, compare what you've had here to what you have, and see whether there's anything you need to improve or rework. You can actually tell us in the chat, what do you think you need to change on your CV? Which section and what in that section would you change in your CV right now based on what we have gone through, or is your CV perfect? Now we are going to move on to the resume review section, and we're going to start off with Masida reviewing the first CV. Yes, so I'm gonna just switch to the CV that she's reviewing, and welcome, Masida.
Okay, thank you, Anne, for this introduction. On behalf of Andela, once again, I would like to welcome you all. So I'm going to start with the formatting of this resume here. You should definitely pay attention that recruiters look at resumes for about 10-15 seconds approximately. So you don't need to focus on having, so you should focus on having one maximum 2-page long resume and not 4, having in mind that I see here a lot of empty space and scattered info. After that, you should definitely avoid adding different fonts, different sizes, spacing, signs, arrows, etc., because they're very distracting and not professional. And looking at this, I would say that being concise and consistent is essential for resume writing. Why is that so? Here is why. It is a way to show recruiters that you are an organized and detail-oriented person who takes XY job very seriously and knows how to explain strong points in a short yet a clear manner. With this, you have immediately shown skills that are valuable for most recruiters. Furthermore, that is also essential without explanation, and that is grammar and spelling. You have to double check and correct everything that you have in your resume. You can use, for example, Grammarly or spell checker in your Microsoft Word, but you should not submit a resume without checking these things first. These are the basics that you need to cover from the start. Moving on to the first page again, professional looking photo with your role and links are very good to have, obviously. You can even add these links within the titles, like LinkedIn, for instance, and hide a long link. So when someone hovers over LinkedIn, it gets them immediately to the right page, because having long links is not really appealing. Phone and emails are definitely necessary, but not your personal information like address or date of your birth. Let's move on to your summary. Basically, a place where you, in a way, advertise yourself. You are selling your expertise, your skills, your knowledge, and this is the place where you need to show that. You need to be very concrete and very clear about it. Try avoiding phrases like seeking a position, since you apply for a certain job because you're seeking a position. So it's obvious and you don't want to sound desperate, but determined to get that job. So I don't see here any concrete info or skills. You have only vague information. So I would say, for example, X is a full stack developer with 3 years of experience focusing on web application development. X is a specialist in JavaScript frameworks and a highly motivated and result-oriented programmer who constantly adopts new technologies. So this is attractive and appealing to see. It sells you well. As for the education and certificates, you should know that these two go together within one entry, following basic things, and those are having dates, names of the institution, and definitely entire titles without abbreviations of any sort. You cannot use short words for your titles, especially after finishing university. So you don't need to include a high school diploma here. It's redundant because you have a lot to show already based on what I've seen in this resume. Skills are obviously important, but it's not necessary to use more space, because I see here you use over half of the page. So it would be nice to divide the skills into primary and secondary stacks and frameworks, since you focused on your technical skills. If you have soft skills like communication, critical thinking, you can include that as well. And don't forget to include years of experience for each skill too. As for your work experience, I see you mentioned one, that is your current job. So you should always use present continuous for current jobs and past simple for past jobs. So here we have dates, we have role, we have location, but it would be nice to know the clients or companies you are working for, even though you emphasized freelance, which is okay. Accomplishments listed here in bullets are great. Like you really emphasized, you explained the skills you used, how you use them. But I would advise writing a general sentence first about your daily duties. What do you do? Projects are great additions to everything that I've just explained, and they also need dates and the name of the company in addition to links and descriptions. Moreover, you can even include them in your work experience if they are related to your work. Finally, languages, so you put them at the end. You should put them in the beginning after the basic info, and also include the level of knowledge that you have of these languages. Okay? And just remember that brilliance is evenly distributed, opportunity is not. So we are here to make a difference, and my colleague Emma shall proceed with her review.
Thank you, Mercida. That was great and really illuminating. First of all, I would like to welcome everyone, and I would like to thank you for joining us today. As Mercida mentioned, I will be reviewing the second resume. To start with the objective section. So the first thing that I would say is, if you're going to keep the title of this section, I would actually prefer to see something like summary, if you have to name it. So, secondly, be careful about how you use pronouns. So instead of saying something like, I am enthusiastic and very hardworking, you can stick to the following mode. So you can say something like enthusiastic and hardworking. So for example, full stack developer with 10 years of experience. So that's something that I would apply to the entire summary here. The next thing, as I mentioned, it's important to have your title. That is something that we don't really see here. What is it that this person does? So what is your role, and what is the role that you are applying for? Another thing that is extremely important to mention in your summary is to give the years of experience that you have, so that it's immediately accessible to your potential employer. Okay. Another detail that can also help is if you have some really significant or relevant certificates, especially if it's something granted to you or issued by well-known companies such as Google, such as Amazon, and so on and so forth. You can also mention your education if it's relevant to the brand that you're selling, so yourself and your work. So if you have a degree in software engineering or anything similar, that's all really good information to mention here. And what we see here that is good is that there are soft skills mentioned. So try to basically keep the most important aspects of your professional persona in here. So keep it as concise and as clear as possible. So moving on to the skills section. What we see here is that there have been soft skills listed, such as excellent formal and informal skills, proficient in verbal and oral communication, and that is all fine to mention. But underneath, we have information technology, proficient in Microsoft Office and Outlook, and so on and so forth. So the first thing that I would do here is divide this into two subsections. So keep one that is dedicated specifically to your soft skills, and the other one which would be dedicated to your technical skills. Also, avoid being too general. For example, we have information technology. Okay, in this case, that would be pretty clear because you are applying for a job that is within that field, but what specifically? So you need to be precise and you need to be on point and straightforward about the technologies and the skills that you have either acquired during your previous experience or that you have already been using regularly. All right, now for the work experience section. We see here that the dates have been given to the potential employer. Okay, that's visible, as well as the title or the role. So that's good. And we have a pretty solid list of responsibilities and tasks. However, as Mercida previously mentioned, it's always better to start with something a bit more general. So let's imagine that you are actually that you are applying to create a website for a footwear or a fashion brand or a factory. So you would say, I was commissioned as a front-end developer or web developer for this and that brand. So we need the name of the company. And they focus on fashion or producing high-quality clothes and so on and so forth. So something a bit more general. And then you move on to the list of your specific tasks and responsibilities. And it's, of course, always good to mention the specific skills and the specific technologies that you applied during this work experience. And another extremely important thing, and it is something that we don't hear, is the name of the employer or the company. So the things that I have just mentioned apply to every work entry here. As it has been previously mentioned, if the potential employer or client sees that the information is lacking or that you have been for some reason stingy or withholding that information, it might put them off and they might actually switch to a different resume or a different potentially successful applicant. So those are the things that I would pay more attention to here, definitely. All right, so moving on to the education and certification section. What we see here that's really good is that this section is pretty detailed. So there have been the dates have been offered when this person has earned specific certificates and for specific skills. The only thing that I would try to keep consistent here is the formatting. So pay attention to those details and try avoiding abbreviations. So be as clear and as concise as possible. I have encountered a couple of questions earlier about whether you are actually free to add volunteering experience or, let's say, specific courses that you took or attended. All of that, if it's relevant to the position that you are applying for, you can all add that in your resume. So you just have to see if it's your volunteering experience, you can add it in your work experience section, that's perfectly fine. And if you are maybe currently attending some courses or programs, you can also add that here in the education and certification section. If it's an ongoing program and if you're on your way to achieving that diploma or certificate, you can just mark the beginning year and just put in parentheses or with a dash, you can just mark present. So the potential employer will know that this is something that you are working towards. So as for the bio data section, first of all, I would actually suggest that this is something that should be placed somewhere at the beginning, at the very top of the resume. So right by your name and your title, instead of keeping it here at the very end of your resume. Also, some things that Anne mentioned earlier, there are specific types of information that you are in no way obligated to give and to reveal. For instance, your date of birth or your sex, your sexual orientation, marital status, or your religion. None of that is mandatory, and so if that is requested of you for whatever reason, you can be you have a legit reason to be suspicious and actually opposed to this. It's really not relevant if it doesn't have anything to do with the way you do your work and how well you do it. It's not obligatory. Okay, and here we see the certification section again. So this is really, let's say, redundant because you already have one up here, education and certification. There is really no need to divide this. So keep your information, related information in one place. Don't scatter it. If you want, of course, it's perfectly fine to add your hobbies or any other skills or any other knowledge that you have gained. So this person really felt the need to reveal their affinities towards music or reading or writing. You can reveal if you're generally a curious mind, a creative person, if you have affinities towards certain visual creations or of art, and so on and so forth. So this is not mandatory, but you're perfectly free to add it if you think that it would sort of complete one's impression of you as a professional. And lastly, we get to the referees. If you wish to do so, you can prepare a list of referees and references that will be available, either revealed directly here, or you can make it available upon request. So this is something that is recommended to have, but if you leave it out, it will not be treated as a minus, let's say. So from all of this that Mercedes and I have mentioned while reviewing these two resumes, I would just like to emphasize a couple of points. So as you see, the importance of a good resume is lies exactly in the fact that it helps you sell yourself. You have to convince someone that you have the skills and that you have the knowledge to work on the project that you are applying for. So if you're instantly not investing effort into just getting that job, that immediately forms a negative impression of you as a professional. So that's why you have to pay attention to all these details, even if they seem minor to you or insignificant as we're discussing these resumes. Pay attention, because if you don't, bear in mind that there are others who will pay attention to them. Also, don't withhold information. Any relevant information can only be a plus. So add it, don't be stingy, don't withhold, and try to not leave your potential employer with a lot of questions. And lastly, when you think you have finished working on your resume, always ask yourself, would I hire myself if I was the employer and I was actually presented with this resume? If you're having second thoughts or doubts, maybe it's an opportunity for you to get back to work and see what can be fixed to improve that first impression. So keep it clear, visually well structured, keep it direct, concise, and informative. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emma and Mercy, for the detailed reviews. I hope whoever submitted this review CV is on call, because that was a lot of knowledge. Emma, you mentioned at the end that you should ask yourself whether you'd hire yourself for this particular role. So for the CV you are reviewing, would you consider that person for an in-person interview? And why not, or why yes?
Honestly, no. I would not really consider this person for an interview because, first of all, there's that visual impact. I have not responded to it in a positive way because it does not seem like much effort has been put in, and it definitely requires more work structure wise.
Actually, sincerely, I would not have even gone beyond the skills section, to be sincere, for this particular CV. What about you, Mercy? The resume you reviewed, do you think you'd invite that person to an in-person interview?
I have to agree with Emma regarding that because both of us enumerated countless reasons where these resumes need a lot of fixing. That does not mean that these persons are not great potential for hiring. This just means that they need to work a lot on their resumes in order to be hireable. Since I've provided, as well as my colleague, details on formatting and grammar and spelling and content, and both of us emphasized that resume is a way to sell yourself in terms of a job. So you are selling your skills, your expertise, your qualities, your knowledge to a potential employer. So that is the issue that both of us had with these resumes.
All right. Hopefully, the people who submitted this can go update their resume and resubmit for job opportunities at Andela and within the network. We only have 10 minutes left, so at this point, I'm going to switch over to Ro for the Q&A section.
Okay, thank you very much, Emma and Mercy. So we have a lot of questions, and some of them very popular in our Q&A section. So we will start by addressing the ones in here. Thank you very much to everybody who participated. So first question, which is very popular, seems like everybody's wondering, what if I don't have a work history?
Okay, I'm happy to take that on, and then the rest can contribute. Again, for people saying they are having a problem with volume, increase the stage volume on your screen. There's a microphone thing that has a stage volume. So what if I don't have a work history? And this is quite common in the learning community. But then there are a number of things that you can do. I'm assuming you're not just sitting at home doing nothing. There's some projects you're working on. So think about the projects you're working on. Be they a problem that you have observed in your community and you're trying to solve for? That is something you can list your project's part and leave out the work experience bit. Also, contribution to open source projects can also contribute to showing what you're doing as you wait for to get a job. Also, the volunteering section allows you to add any volunteer activities that you take part in. Merci, Emma. Any addition?
I would have something to add. So, if you don't really have much of a work history yet, that means that you will be most likely applying for junior positions. So, whoever is actually hiring for those positions will bear in mind the fact that these are likely to be people who don't really have much work experience, and they will be looking for such details that Anne just mentioned. So you can mention any relevant projects. It doesn't have to be an official paid job or anything like that. So if you haven't had such opportunities, you can list maybe any courses that you've taken, any certificates that you're working on. For instance, in some cases, if you're working towards your bachelor degree, you have not finished that yet, you can list that. Or if you have a relevant high school diploma, all of that stuff counts as long as it is relevant for the position that you are applying for.
Yes, I would say I agree with both of you. Like everything that you mentioned is important. In addition, because I have a lot of friends and colleagues and people who are switching and changing their careers, starting fresh, and they're really worried about these things. So, what I would advise to someone who doesn't have any experience, apart from what is being said, is that you focus on your top skills. It doesn't matter you don't have experience, like work experience with that. It can happen that you don't even have any volunteer experience. But, for instance, during your bachelor's degree or master's degree or some course or even a personal project can be a good addition for starting something. Like if you studied during your bachelor's degree, you had certain projects to do. You had homework, you had exams, you had this or that, or your even thesis can be a good if it's a good fit for the job you're applying for. You can say, I have a solid knowledge of JavaScript, even though I don't have experience working for 2, 3, 5 years. And I can prove I'm a right fit for the position you are requiring at the moment. So use skills and positive, enriching words to show your future employer, to give you a chance to prove that you are a right fit. Like you don't have to be desperate if you don't have experience. We've all been in that situation. Like first job is definitely let's say the most important point of our lives, and we all share that together. So don't be negative, be positive, and believe in yourself and your abilities.
Awesome, ladies. Thank you. Well, participants are facilitating my work here because everybody keeps voting. So questions are coming up. So we have a very popular one here. Say you change your career to tech. When applying for a tech job, should you include the previous and related work experience in your resume? I believe you have kind of responded to this, but if you want to.
I would have
take this
something to add. So, for example, sometimes, as you know, you need to adjust your resume depending on the kind of position that you are actually applying for. So in certain cases, it would be really it would be obligatory for you to work in a team, or let's say provide mentorship or anything of the sort. So you might have some previous unrelated work experience in the sense that it is not related to the same field, but you do have some leadership experience at a different sort of job. Or, for example, you have already worked as a mentor, as a teacher You have worked in teams, in groups. If you have something like that to emphasize, and if that is like a soft skill that you have already honed, that is definitely something that you can mention.
Great. Thank you. Another one here, sorry. So people say resumes, CVs should be short. Is this true? And how short is short? Do CVs have a limit, say a given number of pages? Because some people have a lot of experience and achievements to put in a CV.
Okay, I already answered partially to this question when I was discussing this resume, and you should know the difference between resume and CVs, that resumes are to be short and CVs can have more pages, especially for people who have a lot to show. So when I said using a lot of blank space, that is definitely a thing, because you cannot have 3 lines on entire page. That is useless. But if you have formatted everything in the right way and you have 15, 20 years of experience, it is obvious that you need more space for your CV. Resumes are usually 1 to 2 pages long because the purpose is to briefly check everything that you have. And it is also possible for a recruiter to say, like, can you provide your CV so we can have a detailed description of everything you've done so far. So in my opinion, you should have both resume and a CV at hand. And as my colleague mentioned, you have to be ready and not lazy to adapt everything for a different job. You cannot use a template version and just like distribute for different positions. You should carefully look at and adapt everything to a certain job, because if you are describing something that is not necessary for a position you're applying for, you are using the space in vain, because recruiters will not pay attention to that. So focus on what is necessary. Read job description carefully and include that to attract their attention. So I hope this helps.
Thank you. Yes. Great. So also attendees are wondering if we are going to be given, if they are going to be given a resume template after this session.
I do believe that we can send over both the presentation and a template for them to use via email for those who attended the session.
Awesome. I also want to highlight, because I noticed some people asked during the session, this is being recorded, and the recording is going to be shared later on. So don't worry about having missed anything. Okay, another question we have. In the community, we almost only have programming jobs. Could we also have jobs around technical support?
So in the community, we almost only have programming jobs. No. So particularly for the learning community, I've seen support jobs, and support jobs either, for example, the most recent one that I was shortlisting people for was from GitHub technical support. So support jobs are also there. But of course, not as many as the engineering jobs.
Thank you. Okay. Recently, there has been an increase in the demand of Microsoft Power Platform roles. Can these roles be posted in the community as well?
Sorry, just say that again. I was looking for the question on the stage and it's not appearing. Oh, it's finally there.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
the way I'm assuming this is someone who is already on the Andela Learning Community job board. So the way we work is, as these opportunities come to us, we post them on the channel. So yes, if we do come across these roles, we will be sharing them. If you're on the talent network, definitely you will view these roles when they're uploaded. But if you see a role that you think we should be adding, you can always submit it to us on the community platform. There's a channel where you can submit your own roles that you see are fit for the community.
Awesome. Thank you, Anne. We have another one here. How do I package my CV if I'm transitioning from construction project management to product management? I have been taking courses and diploma on product management.
Okay, let me try to answer these and then also welcome my colleagues. So this person is from construction project management and now is moving to product management. I might be biased, but the beauty of product management is that it's very easy to actually switch from one industry into product management, so long as you understand what goes into building a product, the roadmaps, and what the company or the product is meant to achieve. Currently, we actually have a program ongoing for junior product managers, and they're at the point where they're looking for jobs, so it is possible. Now, to package yourself, include like my colleague said earlier, the skills you've gained previously will be important for your future skills. You just need to know which skills to pick and how to present them. For example, if you're managing a construction project management, which skills are you using there? Whether it's leading the suppliers you are with, or the fellow architects, or even whether you're building with in the construction industry, how do they apply to the job you're applying for in product? What problems are you solving for? How are you managing the stakeholders? Those are the points you look at in terms of where you're coming from and which points relate to the new role, especially the soft skills and leadership skills.
Great. Thank you, Anne. Another question we have, can you recommend your relative as your referee?
For that one, I normally ask, and I'd love to hear what Emma has to say, and Mercy. I normally ask, have you worked with your relative? Because if you're, for example, if you're listing your sister just because she's your sister, but she doesn't know you in any other way, you've never worked with her in a professional setting, then I would leave her out. So whenever I'm talking to a referee or calling them up, I want to hear what work did you do with them? What did they observe in terms of areas of growth? How did they observe you taking feedback? So depending on the questions we ask and the context provided, we will know whether it's someone you've actually worked with or not. So ask yourself that question first before listing them.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you very much. We have lots of questions in this Q&A section, and also we have other questions that were sent by attendees via the form when signing up, but we are getting short of time. So I really want to thank everybody for joining. We will make sure you get everything after this session, the recording. We will be posting on social media. We will make sure all of your questions are answered somehow. So thank you very much for attending, and know that there will be other sessions coming up. So we will be very happy to have you on future sessions of this initiative called Women Series Sessions. Thank you, Anne, very much for hosting.
Thank you. Thank you for the Q&A section, the introduction. Thank you everyone for attending, and hopefully we'll see you in the next one. This was lovely and I hope you learned a lot from it.